Hey, Ramona. How was Paris? Lucky you. Hi, Ramona. You see me? Can you hear me? Hi. Hi. Okay. So Emily, got Jane, Mona. Okay. Can you hear me? Hey, Laura. You should
I'm
be.
trying to rename, but I can't, I don't want to mess it up.
You don't want to mess it up. It's fun though sometimes to mess it up, right? So,
I would go into some other class.
um, okay. So, good. So we're still three short, but I guess we can get warmed up, right? I wanted to start discussing about this. Some of you already, I think Jane, we already did this, right, with you recently.
Yep, but I can't do it often.
Not never enough.
Exactly.
Because so
I'll do it again.
should we do it again? Because this is
Okay.
important, right?
I got red pencils now.
This is the there you go. I just need to insist a little bit. This is the subway map, right? I describe this as the subway map because it's of the face, that is, because it's got all this direction that go from point A to point B, and you know where you're going. So I came up with this just to simplify the complication of the organic forms of the face, the muscle of the face. So let's draw this. So we get warmed up drawing the head. Let me see, because maybe Mass. Okay, okay. Let's start doing this, right? So, salt sharpener. Just need a piece of paper and a pencil. You don't need to have a anything fancier, but if you have a pencil, helps to create some color and visualize, differentiate the muscle, the form of the face, etc. Right. All right. So why is it? Okay, should be. All right. So we start by drawing a circle, right? Draw a circle and make sure that you leave some space below the circle enough to put the face, because what this is the cranial volume, right? Basically, it would be this volume in here, right? It would be this volume in here. See that? Attached to this volume here, we're going to put the facial volume. This is the facial volume with the facial mask. The facial mask, as you can see, start kind of halfway up in at the center, the mid level of the cranium here, and develop down for another third of the total height of the head. So let's do this now. Find the center of this circle, right? And you can just measure it like this, if you got the center right. And then take this center, this measurement of this radius, bring it down here. And now we draw the facial mask. Leora, did you keep painting on the watercolor, Venice?
No, but I finished drawing Perseus.
Oh, great, great, great. That's nice. That's a beautiful drawing, right?
Well, yours is.
Well, you know, yours was pretty good too. I saw it. Why don't you post it so I can look at it better?
Okay.
So now
I'm going to go to Carol's tomorrow. Maybe we'll paint.
well, you paint together, right? You will do it together. You work together better. So now we have basically an egg, an upside down egg that reassumes like the volume of the head. So at this point in here, remember that's the center, right? That's the center. So that would be now the upper third, and we draw a slightly curved line here like this, right? Line, sorry, like this, right? At the lower third here, which is the base of the circle, we draw a little line. That would be the base of the nose, down here like this. So these are typical proportion of the face, right? Where the upper third, more or less, is the forehead. The central third is from the brow ridge to the nose, and the lower third from the nose to the chin. In reality, things are not so easy because we're going to have all sorts of variation, right? So sometimes the top of the head is going to be a little bit bigger. Typically, this is a little bit bigger. And then sometimes the nose is bigger, sometimes the nose is smaller, and this sometimes is bigger and smaller. So, but we can start with these division in 3 equal segments, and then we adapt to the proportion, the specific proportion of the person, right? So, so now what we do here, we want to block in a few more details, right? From the base of the nose here, we draw a line like this, right? An horizontal line like this. That represents the lower part of the zygomatic bone, which is at the level of the base of the nose. See that? And from here, if we keep this going, this is also at the level as the base of the cranium. So base of the cranium, bottom of the zygomatic bone, lower margin of the zygomatic bone, and bottom of the nasal cavity are at the same level. So now what we do, we can block here So this is the brow ridge, right? This is the brow ridge. As you can see, the brow ridge is slightly curved like this, right? Slightly curved. That's the brow ridge. Well, did you guys see the images I posted? I posted a bunch of images, right? There's one that is my favorite. I was showing this morning to the student this morning. Is a terracotta sculpture of the 1500 from my hometown, Bologna, and it's the devil. Is there laughing with his little two horns in there. There you go. Isn't that cool? And it's right in front of the church, in front of one of the oldest churches in Bologna. And it's this building. It has all these heads, all these portraits of the devil, of a nice pious lady, of a Moor, of a warrior, and so on. It's quite interesting. So anyway, I thought he had a nice facial expression. So we're gonna find copy some of those, right? So this is the brow ridge, the top of the brow ridge, right? And once I found this top of the brow ridge at the center here, I want to draw a line here, just a little bit below the brow ridge, which is the nasion. It's the beginning. This is the nasion, right? In the skies, I posted also two skulls, front and side view in references with all the nomenclature there. You should have it. So that should help you in kind of remembering these names in here. We're going to revise them as we go on with the facial expression, but you know, we start mentioning them. So the nasion here is the beginning of the nasal bone. This is the nasal bone, right? And that helps me to find the position of the eyes. So if this is the eyeball, right? This is the iris. The nasion is a little bit higher than the iris. Right? So if I take a pencil and I put it here, the nasion here, the iris are below that. It's not always true though. It's not always true. So true. We have to. It's true mostly. It's true mostly for the Caucasian Mediterranean nose, but not necessarily for other ethnicities, right? So races. So now here we block in this keystone, like we can see as a keystone, and that would be the glabella here. And here, this is the glabella, and this is the brow ridge, right? This is the volume of the brow ridge, right? I'm watching this TV series now, it's a Narco Mexico, quite interesting because it's based on real event. And they use people that are very lean and skinny, like people used to be in the 70s and 80s, right? So a lot of these actors, because they are very lean, have also faces very lean. And in quite a few cases, you see also structures such as this bump in here, which is the brow ridge, which, you know, if we have a little bit of fat, they tend to be soft and etc. But you see the zygomatic bone, you see the profile of the skeleton of the skull more. So that's your assignment. Watch Narcos Mexico, and you're gonna see all these facial structures, right? So now in here, what we can do, we can block in the nose, coming down like this, right? And we eyeball the width of the nostrils like this. At the bottom here of the length of the nose, we can block in the lobule, and on this side, the wings of the nose, like that, right? So, so at this point here, what we can do on the outside, so we have the line here that gives us the base of the zygomatic bone. We come up with a line here, pretty much. Let's do it vertical, right? We don't want. This is a schematic render, so let's do it vertical. And this would be the side of the zygomatic bone. Would be this, right? Would be this. So now the orbit is going to be positioned here, right? And the lower margin of the orbit here, you see how this corner of the orbit is higher than this corner of the orbit. This is the lowest corner, down like that. So the orbit, see how they are positioned at an angle. See the axis of that at an angle like that, right? So we blocking these two TV shaped squares, right? Rectangular shape at an angle like this, and those will be the orbits. The eyeball is going to be here. We can block in the eyeball, and on the starting from the side of this margin of the brow ridge here, we kind of blocking a line that goes down like this and a line that goes down like this. Remember, this is schematic, right? This is very schematic, but that line would be this portion here, the side of the orbit, right? So now what we can do, we can find the position of the mouth. So the mouth is going, we can find the position of the mouth in various ways, right? So one is take this measurement in here, right, from the base of the nose to the chin, and divide it in 3 equal segments, 1, 2, 3. And the mouth is going to be at the upper third here, which means that this spacing here between the nose and the mouth is always smaller than this spacing here. See that? So this is smaller than this.
Yes.
Hello?
Hi, I lost him.
Yeah, he's been having problems all day with his
Oh,
connection.
thank God. I started getting high blood pressure thinking it's me. Thank
Oh,
you.
I
so
thought,
much.
I thought so too. I was gonna log off
My
and go.
face is like all red. I'm like, whoa. All right. Thank you so kindly.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hold on.
Yeah. What's up with that? He should connect his computer to his phone if he has network problems. I was just going to do that here because I thought I had net, but I don't. So thank you. All right, we'll wait. Thank you.
Sorry, I had to pick up the phone from my son. We lost a baby's lovey. We just found it. I just got an email from Roberto saying he's having trouble with his Zoom.
Okay.
Thank you for telling us.
He may have had a power outage or something.
Oh
Okay.
my God.
Did everybody get the images? Do you all have the images? Could take this break to print them.
Good idea.
Good idea.
Oh, is he back?
Oh, this happened once before. He's very frustrated with it.
Where is he that he has a power outage, like someplace up?
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't, well, he's in the countryside in New Jersey.
Oh, because I have a house in the Catskills and we always get power outages. A tree falls on the line and all that stuff, so.
Yeah, I think he's. I
Ain't
think-
easy. It's nice, but it ain't easy.
Yeah. Where in the Catskills? Oops, here he is.
Are you still there, guys? It's called Big Indian. It's part of Shandanken, which is a town. It's about 30 minutes away from west of Woodstock. But
okay.
way up high in the mountains. It's like up. It's beautiful. But we get like a tree falls on a line, and then all of a sudden your world is just falling apart.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Here we
Sorry,
are.
guys. I don't know what happened. It crashed. I had the light, everything, but it crashed and it wouldn't open. I had to turn off the computer and start it again. Now we're here. We're gonna add
Was that your tech advisor in the background?
the what?
Was that your tech advisor we saw sneak out of the background?
Yeah. My girl, my little girl, my daughter. So I think that what happened is this morning we were talking how 300 people have been just fired from Zoom. I think some of them got the keys to something and they start playing with it for revenge. Who knows? Anyway, so we're gonna add a few minutes at the end, right?
Okay, we had the face started.
Is it coming? Should be coming, right? There you go. There you go. Okay, so video. Let me start again. Good. So we were here at this stage with this call, right? So so now the mouth, I was saying the mouth, the space between the bottom of the nose, right, and the mouth, the opening of the mouth, is smaller than the space between the mouth and the chin. Right? They're not the same. So now what we can do, we can block in a little bit of angles in the face, angle in the head, and start with angle. The widest point of the cranium is here at the level of the brow ridge. So the upper third, more or less here, we're going to have the widest point, right? The widest point. So now Zoom is a little bit lagging behind, but I guess it will catch up, right? So this is the widest point, right? So what we do, we create a slight change of angle here at this point here, right? And that point is just above the ears. It's just here, just above the ears. So then from here, right, that's the widest point, upper third, right? From here, what we do, we proceed upward to the top of the head, and more or less halfway closer to the top than to the lower third, to the upper third. We turn, we curve here like this, creating a nice change of angle here, and that is the temporal ridge, right? And this is going to come up. The temporal ridge is, you're going to see it soon. Temporal ridge. That is the temporal ridge. See that curve, that the change of angle at the top of the head. And now from back to the upper third, we move down, we go down. And when we get, typically, the corner of the jaw is a little bit below the lower lip, more or less, right? So, well, we put it there just for now using a typical measurement, but that's not always true, right? That's not always true. So that's going to be the corner of the jaw right here. The chin, now we need to block it in the chin. That's the chin, the beginning of the chin here, see that? And the chin can be wider, can be narrower, depending, right? Now we repeat the same thing on the other side, and we see we have all these angles, right? We have this angle. So we have the temporal ridge, we have the upper third, we have the corner of the jaw, and we have the corner of the chin. So we repeat on the other side, right? It will catch up eventually. There's a lag of like 10 seconds. It will catch up, right? So we just need to give it time. So turning the profile here at the temporal ridge, right? And down now from the widest point in, behind the zygomatic bone, reappears under the zygomatic bone. We have the corner of the jaw, right here, and then down to the chin. So we see we start from an egg-shaped form, and then gradually we carve out all these angles, right? So now we can block in, gonna wait a second, so if you need to catch up. Actually, one more thing. I'm going to draw the line of the forehead. The line of the forehead divides the top plane from the front plane. You're going to see it in a second, right? I guess 10 seconds. That's the line of the forehead, right? And you decide what it is. Some people have taller forehead, shorter forehead, wider, narrower, whatever. So we put the forehead in a plausible position, right? For now, it doesn't have to be super precise. So now, let's block in the first three groups, three muscle, right? The three muscle that we use as focus, as center for describing the action of the other muscle. We're blocking a muscle in here, right? Around the eye here. So around the eye is a key word, right? Because the name of this muscle in here, and so we're gonna block both of them here and here, right? Is orbicularis oculi. So I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna write the names here, right? So orbicularis oculi, and the name means the muscle that orbitate around the eye, right? So then there is another muscle. So I'm drawing these two patches, right? These two pirate patches around the eye are the orbicularis oculi. Around the mouth, I have another muscle, maybe more than circular, is more oval, right? A little slightly more oval. And this muscle instead orbitates around the mouth. So its name is going to be orbicularis oris. Right? Orbicularis oris, the muscle that orbitate around the mouth. So let's try to, there you go. So now here we can, you the two patches, right? Orbicularis oculis, orbicularis oris. So now what we do, I'm going to lighten up a little bit the drawing, the marking of the orbit that I did before, right? Here and here. And I just need to know where this, the eyeball is, right? And I'm going to block in more or less the eye quickly without really worrying too much if the eye is super nice, right? Just the eye here. So one thing you want to keep in mind, terminal position of the eye, that the iris we have seen is going to be below the nasion, and the medial margin of the eye here, right, is going to be
The orbicularis oris, you did not make round.
no, it's oval.
Okay.
It's a elliptical orbit, if you want to call
Good.
that. Right? So now see the when we position the eye, we want to see that the iris is a little bit lower than the nasion, right? The iris is a little bit lower than the nasion. And then we want to see the alignment of the corner of the eye, the medial corner of the eye here, with the wing of the nose, because the two are kind of usually on the same level, more or less aligned like this, right? You see this now, I'm going to draw this line, and the two are aligned, right? See that? More or less, right? More or less. It's pretty close, pretty much for everybody, right? So now I'm gonna block in the other eye on the other side here. I find my alignment, find the position of the eye, block in the upper eyelid, block in the lower eyelid. And now we block in the mouth. Actually, let me show you quickly one little detour for drawing the eyes, right? So we're gonna start looking at this little detail. We're gonna see more of these later, but when we draw the eyes, we want to think that the eyes are not, the eyelids are not symmetrical, right? So we can block in the eye, the eyelid following this kind of geometric construction. So this is the medial side of the eyelid, the part inside. This is the lateral, right? And then of the upper eyelid. This is the lower eyelid that starting from the medial now go down like this and up like that. So we have the nose is going to be here, right? The nose is here. So we have short, long, long, short. So when I add now the eyelid here, I can also kind of round this a little bit here and round this a little bit here like this, right? Add the iris and maybe kind of round the eye a little bit more, but I don't want to have the two sides of the eyelid to be symmetrical. The two segment of the eyelid to be symmetrical, right? So this is a very good way of simplifying the eye. But later, when we draw, we're gonna draw the facial expression. I'm gonna get into more sophisticated way of doing it. What this does, it makes you just remind you constantly that you cannot draw the eyelid like this and like this, because they are never symmetrical. There's no symmetry between parts of the body, right? So there's always asymmetry in the parts of the body, right? So make sense? Make sense, guys?
Yes.
So we're going to discuss this further, right? To see more in detail how that works, right? But in the meanwhile, okay, seems like Zoom caught up, right? Now the mouth, we've seen. So this portion, the mouth, how wide is the mouth? So we've seen that there's a correspondence between the width of the nostrils and the corner of the eyes here, like this, right? So they tend to be aligned, right, like this. There's also correspondence between the width of the mouth and the eye, which is where the corner of the mouth is very often tangent or very close to the iris. So it's a little bit wider than the nose. Sometimes it gets up tangent to the iris. I've seen in some text manual for artists that they say that the width of the mouth is at the level of the pupil. That's a mighty wide mouth. So it could be, but it, you know, it's not usually that wide, right? So the lips, right? So when we block the lip, we want to draw the lip divided in segment, pretty much like we divide in segment the eye, right? See if I can get it. There you go. So here we have at the center of the mouth here, of the lip, we have this little tip. It's called procalon, right? We're gonna go over this later on. And here I have now the side of the lips, and this little horns, like this little horn that come down like this, are slightly directed diagonally downward like this. Now, so this, the tip of the lips is typically a little bit higher than the corner of the lips. Not much, but just barely, right? Just barely down. So now we're thinking a volume here, a volume in here, and this central volume in here. The lower lip now is, we can make it with two little jelly beans like this, 1 and 2, and then merge them in the center, right? So we start thinking of the mouth as something that is a composite of different volumes, right? So now that we have locked in the eyes and the mouth, we can color the patch of the orbicularis oculi. Orbicularis oculi here, right? Orbicularis oris. So again, the muscle that orbitates around the eyes and the muscle that orbitates around the mouth. The orbicularis oculi is also called orbicularis orbis. Orbis from the orbs, like the globes, the ball, the spheres, right? But oculi is probably easier to remember, right? So now that we have these two muscles in here, let's look a little bit at the what they do, right? So this muscle here have concentric fibers, and what that does. So this is the first law, if you want to call it such, right? The wrinkles of the face, or in the wrinkles in all the body for that matter, are perpendicular to the direction of the muscle that produced them. So if there's a muscle here, we're going to see that a muscle up here like this, right? That is called frontalis. This muscle in here, directed down like this, is fixed here and moves here. So therefore it lifts up the eyebrow like this. The fibers are directed this way because they had to lift, and the wrinkles are perpendicular. Make sense, right? So now, remember, these muscles though are not straight, they are curved. So they still produce wrinkles that are perpendicular to the direction of the fibers, but I'm gonna have here, the crow's feet here, right? They come out radiating down like that, right? It's because those lines are gonna be perpendicular to a curved line. Therefore that line is gonna be radiating, following the direction of the fiber of the muscles, right? Like that, see that? Makes sense? So that helps, right? It's the first hint, it's the first clue to kind of make sense of the wrinkles, where they start from, how they radiate, how they are directed, etc. Right? Because the wrinkles are not necessarily visible only when we have facial expression, right? Eventually, with age, with time, this continuous movement will create wrinkles that are permanent and more visible, even when we are not moving the face, moving the muscle, etc. For example, this wrinkle in here, the nasolabial furrow here, is more visible in older people than younger people, right? And it's created by the muscle that pull up the lips. And we're going to see later on, right? This is another wrinkle in here. There are wrinkles in the middle of the forehead, etc. So now orbicularis oculi, no. So what they do, because they are concentric, right? The fibers are concentric. They imagine a purse that you pull the strings, right? And the purse closes like this. It's the same thing. So with this muscle in here, what you do is this. Close the eyes. But because this muscle in here is going over, part of it is going over the margin of the bone here like this, right? And part of it is going over the eye. It has two actions. One, the external part does this, squints, right? This squints. And the ocular part shuts the eye down like that. Make sense? So we can squint or do this, right? Or we can even do this, right? Kind of when we just push up the lower portion, squinting with the lower portion of the eye only, not just the whole eye. So let's say this could be a squinting when we can see well, right, like this, or an expression of hate, for example, or smiling also. Or maybe when you squint like this, maybe for the sun or something, that dust, etc., we squint with all the muscle. So this muscle in here, when they move, they can move in sections, in parts of it. Same thing for the muscle of the mouth, you know. So this muscle here would do this, moving like this, right? Or it would do a puckering, the puckering of the mouth. Make sense, right? So, so now let's draw the direction of the action of the muscle, right? So important, not important thing, origin and insertion. The origin is the fixed point of the muscle. The insertion is it moves toward the origin, right? So we're gonna see that later on. So origin is the starting point, is fixed. The insertion is the point that moves toward the origin as the muscle is in action, right? So now here, what we have this muscle here that pulls down, closes, right? Closes the eye like this, right? When the muscle contracts, right? This muscle here also around the mouth like this, right? That's the action of the muscle, right? Now, we start blocking in other muscle and start with some muscle that is deep. And I'm gonna block this deep muscle on this left side of the head, but not on the right side of the head, right? But it's deep, right? It's in both sides, right? So on this side here, right, on this side here, at this level here, because it's on both sides again, we have a muscle that is now going diagonally like this, right? And this muscle in here is called corrugator. Corrugator is, you imagine corrugated cardboard, right? So you see what happened if let's say the point of origin of this muscle is here, right? And that's the point of insertion. It means that this point in here, the point of insertion, moves toward the origin. Therefore, it pinches the skin of the forehead like that. Therefore, it brings in the forehead like this, right? Creating vertical lines here, right? So, corrugator, and then I'm gonna number them, right? Corrugator. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The middle of forehead here, we can have another muscle that goes a little bit over that here. Remember, these are very essentially rendered muscle, very, very simple, simplified, because we need to keep an eye only on the action without worrying too much about the organic aspect, right? The organic form that can be distracting. This muscle here would be number 4, right? And that muscle is the procerus. And procerus does this. It brings down the center of the forehead like this. This muscle here, eventually what it does, creates wrinkles here, horizontal wrinkle here, at the level of the nasion, right? Procerus. So now what we can do, we can block in, skip a muscle, we're gonna put it later. We can block in another muscle. This muscle here is a frontalis, right? The frontalis is a epicranic muscle, part of the epicranic muscle, a group of muscle that is all around the cranium, right? Front, back, and side. And they kind of move the scalp if you want, right? So this is the muscle that is responsible for the skyrocketing sales of Botox. So what it does, this muscle in here, is brings up here like this, the forehead, right? So create the horizontal wrinkles because this muscle moves up, the pinches the skin here like this. So this muscle here, though, can achieve different expression as we're going to see later on, because see how wide it is, right? And think of this, this muscle, all this muscle, most of this muscle here is very thin. So if I touch here the forehead, I feel the bone, I don't feel the muscle. Those muscles are very thin because they don't have to lift much weight, and we use them very, very little, just maybe just a second or two, right? And then that's it. So they're not thick muscle, and they receive the form from the underlying structure of the skull in this case. But the muscle like the masseter, the muscle in here for the chewing, is much thicker, and that is the muscle that is a form giver, right? So this muscle now, the direction of the fiber is up, or the movement is up like this, right? Like this. So that would be frontalis. Frontalis is easy to remember, right? Because it's in front, right? And that would be 5, like this. So now between here, between the side of the nose and the orbicularis oculi here, in this portion here, we have another muscle, right? Actually, I'm going to mark the outline of this muscle with a darker color. They're going to be more visible, right? So there's a muscle here that comes down like this, right? And is called depressor supercilii, which means the muscle that brings down the upper eyelid. So the depressor of the upper eyelid, and it's going to be 6, right? So we have 2 of these, of course, right? Because so the frontalis is going to be here and on top of that. So we're going to have 2 corrugator, one here, one under there, 2 frontalis, one here, one over there, right? Like this. And of course, 2 of these, 2 of everything, basically. Right? So this is going to be now the 6 is the depressor supercilii, or depressor of the eyebrow. Right. So now we have a muscle here on the nose here, right? Like this. That is called nasalis, the muscle of the nose, right? And this muscle in here, what it does, it moves the nostrils down like this. Not sure exactly what this muscle is for, right? But we move this down a little bit like this, right? The nostril down like this, almost like to close the nostrils. Nasalis. So that would be 7. Nasalis. And I have to make the direction, blocking the direction of the muscle, right? So see, nasalis. So this goes down, right? This goes in. This goes down this way. This goes down, brings it down like this, right? Like that. Maybe I should use a darker pencil for that, right, guys? We want this to be more visible, right? So nasalis, right? And now we have a muscle that goes along the nose here, right? It goes along the nose down here like this, right? And that is called, it goes down to the upper eyelid here and down to the upper lip here. It's two segments, right? Two segments. One that goes down here to the nose, to the wing of the nose, and one to the upper lip. So this muscle in here would be number 8, right? 8. And the name of the muscle is levator. Levator means lifter. Levator alequenasi. Alequenasi means the wing of the nose. Labii superioris. Right. So now we block in another muscle here. This is deep, right? This is deep. And this muscle here is called caninus. So this is a deep muscle, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep this left part of the face with only the deep muscle and the right part of the face with the superficial muscle, right? This is caninus. Caninus, or it can also, it is also called, its full name would be, let me write it down, caninus. Its full name would be levator. Levator again means lifter. Anguli. Anguli means a corner, right? Anguli, angle, angle, angular, angle. Anguli oris, right? So the lifter of the corner of the mouth. And therefore the action, this muscle would be like this, right? And this is now number 9. Now on this side, actually we block in here the mentalis, which is going to be slightly covered by another muscle, which we're going to block in later. The mentalis is the muscle of the pouting. It's a pouting muscle. So what it does, this muscle in here, it will bring up the chin and does the pouting, right? Like this. So 10, that would be the mentalis. So now we start with this other muscle, superficial muscle, around the mouth in here like this, right? So the first muscle we block in here is the levator labii superioris. So it starts kind of just below the margin of the orbicularis oculi. So this is just, we're not gonna be so Latin all the time, right? We're gonna use a more colloquial, easy language, just to become acquainted with these names, right? And mostly understand what they do. But then later, we're not going to be so technical all the time, right? So 11, right? That would be 11. This is the so the direction of this muscle here goes up like this, then up like this. And again, levator, which means lifter, labii, sorry, let me write the whole thing in Latin, right? Levator labii superioris. Right. Then we have next to it here the zygomaticus minor that start from the side here of the orbicularis open and goes down to the upper lip here. Under here, this corner here, we might be able to see the caninus, this muscle in here. So I'm gonna block it in just in case, right? So this goes down like this, right? Zygomaticus. This is the zygomaticus minor, and this is the zygomaticus major. Again, they're going to be very schematic for now, but I have included a diagram in week 1 of reference images where I put a more realistic rendering of all these muscles in here, right? So now this muscle in here moves up like this. This muscle here moves up like this. The caninum moves up like this, right? And let's number them, right? 11, 12, 13, 12, 13. So these are going to be zygomaticus, a minor, the number 12, minor, and major, right? Minor and major. So now next to it here, we have another muscle that starts from the corner of the mouth. So we see that the zygomaticus major goes to the upper portion of the corner of the mouth. This one here on the side here goes to the side of the mouth. This is called risorius, from ridere, from laugh, from smiling, right? And it pulls the corner of the mouth out like this, right? So 14. And you pull the corner of the mouth in like this, right? So that would be 14, and it would be risorius, right? And we have now here another muscle that comes down from the corner of the mouth, connect with the corner of the mouth, and goes down like this. And this is the triangularis, or depressor of the corner of the mouth, depressor anguli oris. So this brings down the corner of the mouth, right? So now we have this going down like this. That would be number 15. So 15, depressor anguli oris, right? So then we have another muscle here, and that would be the last one here. It comes down like this, and it's connected. It goes from the jaw here up toward the lower portion of the orbicularis oris, and the mentalis is under here like this. So the mentalis would be under that. So this muscle in here is called depressor labii inferioris, or the muscle that brings down the lower lip, right? So now let's check out, and it will be 16, right? Let's check out the pattern that we see here, right? So 16. Depressor. Depressor labii inferioris. So what we see here is that we have a circle or an oval muscle here like this that closes the mouth, and all around the muscle that radiating out from there, and they open the mouth in different direction. Make sense, right? So that should help. That should help in having a better understanding of the mechanics of the muscle of the face, and to understand now when we see a wrinkle, what is producing the wrinkle. So as I was saying, the wrinkles that we see here like this, right, are going to be created by this muscle in here, because it pinches the skin like this. The wrinkle that we have here, sometimes here, at the beginning of the nose in here is created by this muscle in here that brings down the forehead. The skin bunches up in here, creates a wrinkle in here. Then we have wrinkles also that come down diagonally like this, right? Diagonally like this, and they come from this muscle in here, the depressor of the eyebrow, because the muscle brings the eyebrow down like this. Therefore, the line created by the wrinkle created by this muscle will be like this. The wrinkles created by this muscle, the orbicularis oculi, are going to be the crow's feet, right? With the line perpendicular to the direction of the fibers. There is a nasolabial furrow here. See that here like this, right? And you see how this muscle in here going up this way, moving up like this, eventually will create a wrinkle here like this. This wrinkle here like this, it can be more or less pronounced. Can be well. There is a difference here between the thickness of the lip here and the thickness of the lip in here, right? Because this is the lip. All of this is the lip. All of this is the lip. But there is the pink portion of the lip. So the pink portion of the lip is thicker than this portion in here. So this protrudes, the lips protrude a little bit more, a little bit compared to the lower lip, and it creates a plane that moves in. At the passage between the plane that moves in, the plane that moves out of the chin, there is a wrinkle, and that wrinkle can be created also by the pinching of this muscle here, the depressor of the corner of the mouth, because it brings the lip down, right? Or also this muscle in here that brings the chin up and does the pouting. So the pouting comes because we brings up the chin like this, right? Like this. So now there is another structure we need to understand, which is the node. This is called node. The node is not a muscle, but is a point of convergence, right? So node, right, is a point of convergence of a group of muscle, which probably are the caninus. They're toward the corner of the mouth. They converge at the corner of the mouth. So the caninus, right, which is deep in here, the zygomaticus major, the risorius, and the depressor of the angle or the corner of the mouth. And as they converge in here, they create a little bit of a swelling here at the corner of the mouth, a little bit, right? See if I can find an image later. I'm going to show you. If you can find it here. All right, see this image in here, right? So see, that is the nasolabial furrow, right? We're going to see them later on, right? Here, that bump in there, the almost invisible bump in there, which in some cases is much more visible, that's the node. That's a little bit up in the node. It's called node, right? That is mental labial furrow, is a wrinkle that sometimes is visible here, sometimes it's not, right? So let's now, do you have any question about this? A lot? You don't know where to start? So we're going to go over it again quite a few times as we draw now. We start drawing now a few facial expression, right? So change page. The first thing we do, I want to show you how to block in the portion of eyes and nose, and focus on that, and focus on the action of this muscle right here, right? So let's do this. Let's do this, right? So let's start by drawing the brow ridge. So brow ridge. Brow ridge like this, right? With a slight curve, right? When we draw the brow ridge like this, right? What we can do at the corners, at the end, toward the end of the brow ridge, we want to create a little bit of a change of angle here like this, because actually, let me draw it a little bit higher so maybe we can fit a couple. Right? Oh, So let's do this. So now curved line, gently curved line like this. It's just barely curved line like this. At the end of this curved line, right, we want to draw two little smaller side here. They move down like this because what that is the eyebrow. So this is the skull, right? This is the line that we're drawing here, like this, right? But if we draw the eyebrow now, this the last portion of the eyebrow is on the side plane, is here. It goes down. It's not on the front plane, it moves to the side. Makes sense? So we want to block in something that changes angle toward the end here and here, right? Like that. So we start kind of showing a little bit of the three-dimensionality of the volume of the head. Find out the midpoint here, right? Find the midpoint. And here we're gonna block in the keystone, right? Blocking the keystone of the forehead, like that, right? So this keystone in here is where it ends. Is the nasion, the nose. But now I want to know how long is the nose. Let's look at the skull, right? So let's say the eyebrow is here, right? Ends up here. And that's the center of the brow, right? So I'm gonna take this measurement here, from here to here, right? And compare it with the length of the nose. And starting from the center here of the glabella, the measurement that goes from here, from the side of the eyebrow to the center of the glabella is also very similar to the measurement of the nose. Make sense? Do it again. I'll do it again.
Yes,
I'll do it again with my tool so you can see it better, right? So as a general proportion, now because we're looking for proportion here, right? I check. Now I establish the brow ridge, and that's totally up to me. I decide how big I want, how wide I want the face to be, right? Once I found this, right, what I do, I divide it in half, and just arbitrarily, I block in the keystone, right? So once I have this, right, once I have this, I take the measurement of the side, this side here of the eyebrow, and measure from here, from the side of the eyebrow to the center of the glabella. This measurement here is equivalent to the measurement of the nose. So I take now this, starting from the center of the glabella, and I block it in here, and that's the nose. Now, the nose could be longer or could be shorter. So sometimes the nose could be, maybe the equivalent could be starting from here and ending up in here. Sometimes can be from here to here. So, but there is a certain correspondence between the width of the eyebrow here, half of it, and the length of the nose. And you can do this on your own to check out your proportion relationship. So you take a compass, you put it here, right, and here, right? And then you compare it with this, see that? Be careful, don't poke your eyes out, right? Use a compass. So this is just to start getting an idea of the facial proportion. What we do, we create a face that is, if you want, neutral, and then we start moving it. We start moving the face, right? So this is the nose, right? You measure it, careful with your eyes. Careful with your eyes, right? Because this sharp, right? So now we got to see the nose here like this. So we can block in the nose like this, just a general shape like that, right? Without getting too much in detail. We're gonna add the detail later on, right? And now we see this is the glabella. So remember, this is the nasion. Sorry, this is the nasion. So remember that the iris is going to be just below the level of the nasion. So the iris is about here, right? So we can center the iris here and center the iris here, right? And once I establish the width of the nose,
You put the iris opposite the nausea, below the glabella.
it's below the nasion. See that?
Oh, okay, that line is okay.
Yeah. So just below here, just below the nasion, right? But I'm going to show you also eventually a profile of a variety of faces, and you see how that is always not true. But we need a starting point. I need to start somewhere. So center it like this. Once I center the eyes like this, I want to look now at the nostrils, right? The width of the nostril, which I eyeballed. I just eyeballed them. Bring out now the width of the nostril here, right? Here and here, right? And that here, line up here, is going to be the medial corner of the eye, right? So that is called a lacrimal caruncle, right? Where tears come from, right? Lacrimal caruncle. And so we can block in a little dot here, right? Because that's the corner of the eye. But notice that that corner of the eye here is not going to be at the middle of the middle of the iris. It's going to be to the lower, at the level of the lower half of the iris. It's going to be here. Because then from here, right, we go now up toward the top of the iris, and then from the when we reach top of the iris, we go down with a longer line. Remember before when we saw that that essential rendering of the eyelid, short and long, right? And now long and short, right? So then we can kind of smooth the corners here, right, a little bit, and block in the eyelids. So same thing on the other side, right? Short, long, long, short. We can block in a little bit the philtrum. So this portion here is called philtrum, below the nose here, the philtrum, right? And what we can start doing now, we can start messing with the face, creating facial expression. So let's see what happened when we move the frontalis, right? The frontalis, remember, the frontalis is going to be, is going to be this muscle here. That's a frontalis, right? That's a frontalis. So frontalis lifts the skin of the forehead like this. Therefore, it moves up the eyebrow. So the eyebrow is not going to be just here anymore. It's going to be higher. So we can now take off this, right, eyebrow here, and make it a little bit higher, and also a little bit round, curve, like that. And the other thing is that as we do this muscle here, as it does this, it might also drag along the upper eyelid. So as it drags along the upper eyelid, what will happen is we're going to have, so in a normal relaxed position here, we have the iris that is just barely, I mean, the upper eyelid just barely tangent or slightly covering the top of the iris. But when we have an expression of surprise because of the upper eyelid is lifted, but also because the skin of the forehead is lifted, then what we have this, see the sclera here above the iris. When we see the white above the iris, immediately we have a sense of surprise, fear, urgency, something like that, right? Because normally we do not see the sclera above the iris in a relaxed position. Okay. Now the same thing as the eyebrow is now rounded a little bit more because it's pulled up here like this. So this is going to be rounded, right? Make the round eyes like this, right? The eyelid also is going to be rounded, right? Like that. And this margin here, might be this wrinkle here might be a little bit sharper because it could be that as we move up the skin here, we also lift a little bit the upper eyelid, and the eyelid recedes up. We move the eyelid up, and it moves over the eyeball like this, and then it creates a wrinkle in here, right? Because the eyelid moves in, above, like this, above the eyeball, right, like that. So we don't have the equivalent wrinkle in the lower eyelid because there's no muscle here to move the lower eyelid up and down. The lower eyelid, we don't move it. We cannot move the lower eyelid. So what we can do, we can squint like this, right? But that is not the same thing as having a muscle that moves the eyelid. The upper eyelid is moved by a specific muscle. The lower eyelid is not moved by muscles. It's moved by the specific muscle. It's moved by the orbicularis oculi. So,
Excuse me, Roberto, it's Jane. Could you just briefly explain again why you have the sharper crease above the eyelid?
oh, here, yeah. So imagine this, right? Imagine that. So I'm gonna draw a drawing. So this is the eyeball, right? This is I'm gonna create a section. Right? This is the eyebrow here, like this, right? And the orbit is cut, right? Cut like this, right? And that is the lower margin, the zygomatic bone. The nose is gonna be here, more or less, right? So that's the eye. It's too big. Let's make the smaller eyeball here, like this, right? So normally the muscle, the orbicularis oculi is here. Start from the margin of the orbit around here. It goes down like this, right? And then it goes here over the eyeball like this, right? That's the eyelid. That's the eye. That's the lower eyelid, right? And this muscle goes here like this, right? All around here like this, right? And lower eyelid, and then the other muscle like that. When the eyelid is lifted, what it does, it goes in here, in, like that. So this now is retracted, basically.
Oh, I see. That is very clear. Thank you very much.
It's retracted like that, right? Because we have, let me see, I have it here. Well, I'm gonna show you this later with an image. I have a drawing. Let me see if I have it here. Yeah. I think I posted this image here too, right? So you should have it, right? So see that this muscle here, right? This muscle here is the levator palpebrae superioris. It lifts the upper lip. So, but we don't have a muscle like that that lowers the lower eyelid. So what happened is that is created, this wrinkle here is created by this movement of the eyelid up and down. But we don't have a similar sharp line here because the lower eyelid does not go in and out, does not go. Make sense, right? I think you should have this. This should be useful for you guys too. I'm not gonna go over this. I mean, I want to focus more on the facial expression, but yeah, you have it, right? You have it. Good, perfect. That's it. Right. Good. So now what happening here? We have this eye here, this expression here, like this surprise, because the skin comes up, the eyelid maybe comes up a little bit more, in which case we also have the lifter of the eyelid that works, right? And but the eye assume a little bit of a rounder form, because think of this thing that we have here. This is the eyeball, right? Imagine now that I have a line goes across the eye that represent the closed eyes. And it would be like this, right? As the eyelid moves up, what it does, imagine actually, let's do this. Don't think about eyelid. Let's think about section. So this is a transversal section like this. This is another section that show me the turning of the. Imagine that we are cutting this one. Imagine this is not an eye. Imagine this is one of those chocolate oranges, right? You know the chocolate oranges, they come apart like that. Makes sense, right? So now that would also be the percourse of the eyelid, right? It moves up like this. It has to now describe the curvature of the eyeball. Make sense? Is it clear? Right?
Yep.
So here now, because this eyelid is higher, the curve created by the eyelid is going to be rounder. Make sense? So now we have this wide open eye with surprise, right? And we can block in now the a little bit of shading, right? So this portion here is going to be shaded because it's recessed, right? The recessed. That's the side wall of the nose. We're going to have the side wall of the nose here, right? We can block in a little bit of tonal rendering just to practice a little bit of drawing, right? Too, right? This portion here is going to be all slightly darker because it's recessed in the orbit, right? Coming down the orbit. And here I have that change of plane, that change of angle between this side of the upper part of the orbit and this side here. So this moves back, it recessed, and this moves forward. So the light is going to have a slightly darker value here and lighter value there, right? So that if this permits us to kind of visualize the turning or the turning of the profile of the orbit in here, and explain the change of light from dark to light here, because this now comes forward, right? So this portion here is now forward, and you see how the light might hit in here, but the light is not going to hit up here because this under, right? So now this is the nasolabial furrow, right? Nasolabial furrow, it comes down like this from the just above the wing of the nose, going down like this, right? So here now we can block in the wrinkles right here. And these wrinkles here are not going to be necessarily continuous and all the same, right? But this is the action of, remember the name of this muscle? It's the muscle that is in front.
Frontalis.
Frontalis, there you go, frontalis, right? Frontalis. So now another structure that I want you become familiar with, right? Which is very important, is a line that we have here at this point in here, which is the line of the margin of the orbit here like this. So going back to this, right? So look at this this skeleton here. So now we have here this, the eyelid, lower eyelid, lower eyelid, lower eyelid. See that? That's the lower eyelid. That is fat. The fat is all around the eye. And then this sharp line in here is that you can feel it here. You can feel a bone in here. That is it's called frontal maxillary eminence, and is this. See that line there? So that is the bone. So we have bone, and that is really visible, right? Typically visible because it's against a soft tissue, which is the fat, right? So that's that is lower margin of the orbit. So it tells me where the orbit is. So frontal maxillary eminence, fat, eyelid. So 1, see that 1, 2, 2 the fat, and 3 the line of the bone. And down like this with the nasolabial furrow. So look how interesting this is. I'm not saying this is going to be the same for everybody, but look at this. The eyelid goes down this way like that. See that? This goes down this way. This goes down this way. So 1, 2, 3. It's a radiating pattern. Beautiful, right? Beautiful. Makes sense? So now, why do we care about this? Because they kind of create together, they create a pattern of movement, right? So 1, almost horizontal, 2, 45, 3, almost vertical. I don't know if I should be telling you all these secrets. All right, so this is the thing though. We have plenty of radiating patterns, harmonies, pattern like this in the body, in the face. They are really important to start noticing that. We cannot really possibly go over all of them, but you want to start looking for these patterns, because some are always there, like these, right? So 1, see that, 2 and 3, right? They're going to be there. But if I have a facial expression, they're going to change. They're going to change. I'm sorry.
Is the frontal maxillary eminence part of the connect to the zygomatic bone?
It's well, it's the upper part, right?
Yeah, I thought, yeah, that's what I was, yes.
See, the like, so
Okay,
it's actually,
yes.
actually, see that this thing is that I'm gonna try looking for the if I can see. I think the zygomatic bone is here, and that's the maxilla.
The maxilla is the upper part of the zygomatic bone.
Well, it's not the zygomatic, it's maxilla. The maxilla is another bone, right?
Oh, is another bone.
Yeah, so they come together there. See that? I think that's it.
Okay.
I think that is the line where they come together. I can't remember exactly, but the zygomatic bone is separate bone. It's topping here, etc. here, and that is the maxilla. Part of the maxilla. This is the maxilla, right? So it come together there. So that, see this bump in here? That is the frontal maxillary eminence, and it's really thickening here, right? You can really feel it. You can really feel it, but you can see what it is the lower medial margin of the orbit, just below that, right?
Oh, okay. I didn't. I knew there was like, it's two bones that fuse together.
Yeah, they come together. See if I,
Okay.
maybe later I'm gonna we can discuss again. Maybe we're gonna go over the skeleton, the skull a little bit more, but because yeah, it would explain it if you do that, right? Maybe next week we spend a little
No,
more time.
it's just nomenclature I'm worried about. That's all.
I'm sorry.
I'm just worried about nomenclature. That's all.
Okay, let me write it down, right? Let me write down the name, right? So that is called frontal maxillary eminence. Eminence like the Pope or like the rapper, right? So now here we have the we could do the other style too, but we can keep this. But actually, let's do the whole thing. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do the whole face, because we're gonna create a series of facial expression, right? So when we draw, later we're gonna draw some copies, some drawing with facial expression, right? Then we can better understand the complexity of the facial expression, right? And also we practice doing this. We practice drawing this facial expression, right? So rounded eye, right? We see rounded eye, right? So in this case here with the rounded eye, we don't necessarily have that short and long. It's rounder, it's stretched, so it's going to be deformed by by the pulling, right? So the fat in here is really kind of enveloping the eyeball, right, all around the eyeball.
And you say the fat gets less as you age under your eye?
Oh, more, sadly.
More?
Comes
More,
out,
okay.
right? It comes out, and you got the bags under your eye. We have all the bag under your eyes, so it can tend to come out. So I don't think it's more or less. I think it's the skin that get less elastic, less taut, and so the skin start coming, you know, really more loose. So so the fat, I think that depends on how much we eat, right?
Ah.
or how much we drink, which looks like after partying you got this bag under your eyes, and it's more tiring. It's more being tired. Like, no, I think it's more to do, yeah, with the quantity of fat, depending on, you know, really how much you eat, but also the how the skin gets more lax, right?
Mhm.
So now lower eyelid here, right, and then here, then the fat is wedged between the lower eyelid and the frontomaxillary eminence, right? So here we can block in a little bit of shading like this, right? And this is going to be an expression of surprise, but keep in mind that this is not necessarily an expression of, I mean, this could be a good surprise or a bad surprise, right? Depending on what the rest of the face does, right? Because we have a smile, it's going to be a good surprise. If we have a frown, it's going to be, oh no, another reindeer sweater for Christmas.
Right.
We're getting there, right? We're getting to Christmas, guys. So what you gonna ask for? A skull? A little skull like this? It could be a good Christmas present, right? Like this, like this.
Sure.
The skull of your enemy, right? So now here we have the wrinkles coming up like this, right? And that is the first facial expression, right? But what I want to do now, another facial expression connected with, created also by the frontalis, right? Frontalis. So let's do it again, right? So we do the brow ridge. So we become really proficient in doing this. So I brow ridge here. Sorry, I need more space. Brow ridge here. And in fact, I'm going to try to get more than one movement of the frontalis is one picture if I can, right?
Oh, we have to leave room for the forehead.
Yeah, I made it too close, right? So now, glabella, right? Go with name, right? Glabella. And then we have a nasolabial furrow here, right? This is the nasolabial furrow, right? We're gonna hear a lot about this guy. Nasolabial furrow, right? Like that. Philtrum, right? Like that. So that point in there is called nasion. Nasion. And at the nasion here, typically we have a little bit of a darkening here, right? Because this portion here comes in, right? See that the shadow there? It comes in and then moves out. So dark and light, right? Here, there's the bump of the nose here. The bump of the nose is here, right? Is called rhenion. Right, so we can block in a little bit of a change of value here. So this is going to be the side wall of the nose, right? Come down at an angle like this. That's the lobule here. The tip of the nose is called lobule, right? Side of the nose down like that, right? And the bump of the nose here can be very visible or not that much visible, depending, right? But that's called rhenion. I think it has an age in there, rhenion. I don't think he's got a Y, but so that's the rhenion. The bump of the nose is called rhenion, right? So now let's do it again, right? Let's do it again. Get with a neutral face, and then block in the once you find the width of the eyebrow, get to here, right? Find the center of the brow ridge. Take half of it, and with that, starting from the center of the glabella, bring down the nose, and now the nose is going to be there. Again, the nose length can be varied, so it could be a little bit longer than that, a little bit shorter than that. We just need a measurement that is typical, right? So from here now we block in here the nose, right, like that. Keeping using the nasion as reference, we block in the iris a little below that, centering it into the space of the orbit. So a little below this line here, right? And centering it into the orbit here and here. So now what we can do, we can block in the width of the wing of the nose. That's just estimation, right? And this will help us to block in the medial margin of the eye, or the corner of the eye, right? The lacrimal caruncio. Let me write it down. Lacrimal or tear duct, right? I mean, the duct is not the duct. Is the duct is inside? Is the part that where the duct comes out, right? Lacrimal caruncio. So now, same thing. Once I have the iris, I block in the profile of the eye. In a neutral expression, again, we have the upper eyelid tangent to the iris, and the lower eyelid just a little bit below the iris, leaving some sclera visible. A little bit of white of the eye is visible in a relaxed or normal expression, right? So remember, the lacrimal caruncio is going to be toward the lower part of the eye in relation to the iris, right? You don't want to have it too high here. Same thing. So now what we can do, we can have a few muscles working together to see what expression they can create and combine, right? So let's imagine now this muscle here, the frontalis muscle, will, you can move this portion here, just the central portion, or just the lateral portion, both of them, or just one. Meaning, if I do this, right, I'm lifting the corner of the eyebrow using only the lateral portion of the frontalis. If I do this, I'm lifting the central portion of frontalis, but not the lateral portion of frontalis. Make sense? Right? So let's see what happens in a complex pose like this. So it's a big wide flat muscle, right? So if I use, let's say, the frontalis lifting the corner of the eyebrow, but not the central part of the eyebrow, I would have this. I would have the eyebrow from here going up like this, right? And then going down like that. Because this portion is not going to be affected by the muscle, right? So now, let's clean it up. you see immediately kind of an expression coming, right? This is coming like this, right? And then going down like that, right? And in this case, the eyelid is not going to be necessarily lifted, right? So I might still have the iris being partially, just a tiny little bit covered by the upper eyelid, right? So I'm going to have here now, let's block in some eyebrows here. And so I'm going to have the wrinkles here like this, like that, right? From a skeptical look, right? A skeptical look, right? So that would be the lateral portion of the frontalis, of the right frontalis. Only that moves, right? So here I might also have, imagine this. So we're going to try to get more muscle working at the same time, right? Just blocking now the shadow here, right? Here I have the lid, the lower eyelid. It could be bunched up here, right? Because maybe what happened here, maybe we are kind of squinting like this, right? Like this. So as you squint here, this muscle, the lower part of the orbicularis oculi pushes up, pushes in, and then makes the lower eyelid kind of bulging out a little bit. Make sense? Right? Like when you smile, or when you maybe have a hateful look, right? And you kind of look somebody with a squinty eye, right? Oh, he gave me the squinty eye, right? So that's just that's the squinty eye. So the squinty eye, this portion is gonna be bulging a little bit, right? And with the squinty,
And you make it bulge by rounding the lower lid.
I'm sorry, say that again.
You make it bulge by rounding the lower lid.
Yeah, see that it becomes a little bit more rounded, right? The lower eyelid, right? Because the muscle around the eye here is now squeezing it, right? So in fact, we could even make it a little bit more evident. Let me do this. When we squint, what happened when we squint, right? We make it even more evident. This. Right? That pushes up. So depend how much we squint.
Oh, okay.
Makes sense, right?
All right. No, I'm bringing it down. I'll bring it up.
You bring it up, right? You bring it up because the orbicularis or oculi squeezes now around the eye, right? But this portion here maybe is a little bit lifted, so it's not necessarily, this is not necessarily going down. It could still be here. I mean, we could have all sort of variation in that, right? But it could be more upset or less upset, and somebody really upset, maybe the upper eyelid goes above the iris and we see the sclera. I mean, you know, we have an infinite variation here. Right? So now here, what we can do, we can block in a little bit of shaded area here. This is going to be now, imagine that now we have here, we could also have flaring of the nostril, but we could wait for that, right? We could wait for, and actually, let's do that. So we have a very complex facial expression. So remember the little muscle with a short name? This is the muscle. This is the levator alequenasi labii superioris. So this muscle in here, it does, so it flares the nostril, right? So it does this, right? But if you do this, the upper lip comes along. So you can try not to do it, but it takes an effort, right? So I don't know if you can do it. So to mouth don't move, right? It kind of comes up a little bit, right? You really have to kind of pull it down to keep it. So it's an expression that, so because this is also something that we do when we are about to cry or something, right? And you see now, if somebody that doesn't want to cry, like shuts their mouth like that, like this, right? Or something hurts, you really had to make an effort to counterbalance this flaring of the nostril. If you let it go, it just, the whole thing comes up, right? So that's why it's called levator alle quinasi labi superioris, because you move the whole thing together. So if this happened, like, so we have here is this, we have here now this nostril. Let's move only one nostril, right? Here. Comes up like this, right? If it comes up like here, we're gonna have here wrinkles. Because remember, the wrinkles are perpendicular to the direction of the muscle that produces them. So now this muscle is directed like this, therefore the wrinkle is gonna be here like this. This is pinched like this, right? Now here we also have the more visible nasolabial furrow. See that? The nasolabial furrow here, right? So let's block in, let's use another few muscle in here, right? So here at this level here, right, we have when somebody makes a face like this, maybe he or she is very, very mad, right? So it could be that at this point in here, we're moving all these three muscles in here, which are the procerus, the muscle that brings down the center of the forehead, and also maybe the depressor of the corner of the eyebrows here, bring the brow. So what we're gonna have muscle that go down, one down like this, and these two down like this, here like this. So what that does, it creates a series of wrinkles, one here like this, right? It could be the wrinkles created by the procerus, the muscle that brings down this muscle here. Actually, let me use this, right? This muscle here that brings down the center of the forehead, right? This one. So make a wrinkle like this, right? Then, so we're gonna use this muscle and this muscle here. So the reform. This is the procerus, come down like this, right? And here we have now the depressor of the eyebrow that bring down the eyebrow down like this, right? And maybe we use the other one too, here like this, right? And now we have another wrinkle coming down like this, right? And here maybe we have some bunching up of the skin here at the level of the nose here, like this, right? Because it's all compressed, right? Some wrinkles in here, really depend how mad you are at your kids, right? So now we could have this, it comes in a little bit more, right? But maybe not as much as that, right? We could have this kind of milder movement of this. So this kind of in a little bit less, goes up a little bit less, right? So we have this asymmetric facial expression. And then maybe this one here is, then maybe this squints, right? Also squint like this, right? But it doesn't necessarily, maybe in this case here, we don't necessarily move also the lifter of the nostril, and we leave this nostril alone, right? And but maybe the squinting is more pronounced, who knows, right? So the squinting is more pronounced, then we're going to have the wrinkles here on the side. So we have more squinting. Let's say we have more squinting here, right? So we're going to start having the wrinkles, the corner of the face, right? Visible. Remember when they have the hearing for the Supreme Court Kavanaugh, right? That went on forever, and he was making all these faces, and they were great for studying facial expression. So if you probably Google Kavanaugh and you look at the facial expression, they are fantastic. He had a lot of it. It was mostly mad, and you know, so it's but right, but they're great if you can print them out. Something they're good, right? So now here is the lower eyelid here. And that is the fat, and that is the nasolabial fur, right? So, so we see if we can kind of review quickly the direction of the fiber of this muscle. Here we would have all the muscle frontalis is working, all of it, right? So all of these fibers in here like this. Here maybe we also have the levator palpebrae superioris, right? So actually, let's write the action of the muscle involved in this action here, in this expression here. So frontalis, all, and then levator palpebrae superioris. So this one instead is more complex, right? Do you need to finish copying?
Yes, yes. I didn't write that in the first place.
Andrea, make an effort. It's worth it. Now, there's plenty of facial expression on that you can use as an inspiration, right? So, so now in this portion here instead, right? This facial expression, you see how more complex it is. So, meaning, you know, we don't want to just try to make a distinction between the action of the muscle and the facial expression, because if I lift my eyebrow like this, it does not necessarily surprise, as I was saying before. I could be mad, I could be happy, I could be surprised, depending what the rest of the face does. If I make a mad, if an upset expression, it can be like this, symmetrical, right? But it could also be kind of complex like that, where I have all sort of movement going on. So we can distinguish between what is a muscle doing. All right, this muscle lifts the eyebrow like that, like that. It's not necessarily surprise. That's it. But when I get into the complex facial expression, then we have to always think that many muscles contribute to a facial expression, not just one. So this is now the lateral portion of the frontalis moves, but not the medial, right? This portion here, maybe of the frontalis, maybe doesn't work much. And now we have here the depressor of the eyebrow moving in and moving in like this here too, but also the procerus moving down like that. Indicating here, I'll have maybe a little bit of the lifter of the eyelid moving up. And this one here instead, the orbicularis oculis. And this is the lower portion here of the orbicularis oculis. But here, the whole portion, the whole orbicular oculi, we can make it even more hateful like that, right? And here, the levator alequenasi labii superioris. Quite intricate, but quite intriguing, right? So let's write the name of the muscle now, right here. This one here is, let's say, lateral portion of right frontalis. This is going to be now the procerus. These two here are going to be the depressor. I'm going to write it here, depressor supercili. This is the levator palpebrae superioris. This and this one here is, so this one, orbicularis oculi, lower portion, orbicularis oculi, all. Right? Quite an interesting, compilation of muscle working here, right? Contributing to this madness. Oh, sorry. Also here we have the levator alleque nasi, labi superioris. I don't know if we can find some acronym because that LANLS doesn't make any sense. LPS, but we gotta suck it up, guys. You better remember the names. Too many acronyms, right? Then we end up sounding like military guys, right? Okay, so let's get another facial expression, right? I would spend the rest of the evening doing these things in here. So then next week I would copy either a sculpture. Maybe we copy the devil, right? The devil that I sent you, that's kind of nice. Or the King of Naples, which I didn't send you the King of Naples, but you might have seen it already in previous. It's a sculpture from the Compianto del Cristo Morto in Bologna. Or we could do the Burde, we could do these. You could copy these, right?
Ha,
These are beautiful, right? These are in Bologna. These are in Bologna. So look how beautiful they are. It just this is a great study. This the whole group is studying facial expression. You have all stages of grief. It's just masterful. Or this one, I love this one here. The bitter medicine.
quite
Isn't
enough,
that funny, right?
quite
I love
enough.
that. I love that, right? It was 1630s. This is a baroque painting of Dutch baroque painting. So anyway, so do it again, right? Do it again. You're going to become pretty proficient with this blocking of the fish. So for now, we're going to do the eyes tonight, and then maybe next week we can draw some expression of the mouth. But then I would like to spend some time to draw in a portrait, right? But we need to go over this. I would say it's going to help us a lot in reading the facial expression, right?
I definitely need this.
Sorry.
I definitely need this.
Yeah, it's help, right? You'll see. It's going to be interesting, right? All right. So do another one, right? Do brow ridge. And then divide it in half, right? Blocking the keystone of the glabella and ends up with the nasion. And now we have the measurement of the nose, right? Measurement of the nose, take it. Again, you can start from the center, you can start from the top, you can start from here. Let's see what happens if we start from the top and the nose is going to be here. It's still plausible because you're going to see people with shorter nose, or the nose could be here, right? Or the nose could be here. Longer nose. Maybe that's a bit long, but it could be that. But overall, we have this approximation in here, right? That we can use to when we measure the figure. When you imagine you're doing a portrait, right? What you could do, you could do that. You measure in your model with your pencil sticking up in the air like this. measure the nose and then compare it with the eyebrow, nose, eyebrow, and then see if you have the same ratio, or if you see the nose is a little bit longer than that, right? Whether it's on a straight on position or on the side like that, either way, you're going to achieve a proportional relationship between nose and eyebrow. And that's what you want, right? So, okay, so now the nose that stays here, right? Now that I have now that I have the nasion, right? I can block in the nose, and using the nasion here, draw a line across the nasion like this, and the iris is going to be just below that, here and here. So now we can block in the wings of the nose, widening the nose, right? And bring this up, bring the align the with the vertical alignment here of the wing of the nose. We see where the corner of the eye is. So in this case, I might need to move the iris a little bit closer to it. And then I block in now the eyes here. Adjust all the proportion. Eyes is here, right? And wings of the nose, lobule, wing of the nose, philtrum. So now we can see maybe the central part moving up like this, right? All right, so from here, what we can do, we can block in the, so imagine that now we are using the central portion of the frontalis. So we have this portion going up like this, right? The eyebrow is going to go up like this, right? Up like this. And in addition to that, because this guy is not set enough, we're going to make him setter by bringing in the center of the forehead with the corrugator. Remember the corrugator, no? The little muscle that is here, brings in the skin of the forehead like that. So we're using this portion here, not these two because these move down, right? The portion and this muscle here, which is under that. So they kind of all work together. So let's see what's happening here. So we're going to have here now a pinching, right? A pinching of the skin here, like this, right? And sometimes there is a little bit of a wrinkle up here in the middle, because actually there should be a wrinkle in the middle here because the central portion of the frontalis is working like that. Make sense? All right. So let's give it some life, right? So one thing you want to pay attention to when you draw this is in your model, maybe is how much space you have between the upper eyelid and the eyebrow here. That can vary a lot. It can be really different. For example, if we have a bushy eyebrow, right, or eyes that are more sunken in, or you know, there's going to be or plucked eyebrow, for example, right? They're going to be more spacing here. Then we can use that as a measurement, right? So this portion here now is going to be darker, right? Coming down like this is going to be a little bit darker because it moves in, right? But that's going to be even darker because it's the sunken portion of the, actually it's because this wall in here of the nose kind of keep the light sometimes from coming in. So this is one of the darkest spots, right? So now I have the light coming from everywhere, so it's kind of tend to be diffused, but with the light coming from an area like this, that corner might be light, but that corner might be pretty deep and dark, right? So side wall, right? Or eyelid, frontomaxillary eminence, right? So we could also squint, make the eye squinting a little bit, right? So the squinting of the eyes is not always necessarily connected with problem in seeing properly, right? Not wearing glasses. It can be happiness, it can be smiling, it can be rage, right? It can be sadness, like this in this case here. Somebody's about to cry, right? And when that happens, what we see that this sunset kind of eye, see that and the squinting here will kind of bunch up the lower eyelid. See, Leora, the question we were asking before, right? They're going to be bunched up in here, and then so I want to spend a little bit of time also doing the tone rendering, because I think it's a good practice, right? In improving the drawing technique, right? Especially with the facial expression, they're quite demanding, right? They're quite demanding. You got to do the right blocking the right volume, right? The right kind of in this case in here darker here, because it has to show the eyes really sunken in, and all the wrinkles carved out because of the action of the muscle. So it's good practice, right? So here we have the wing of the nose, right? The nasolabial furrow here. How was Paris, Ramona? You have fun? Where is my postcard? You didn't send me a postcard, right?
No, it was a lot of fun, but we were walking, we were on our feet a lot.
It was not cold, right? We're in October, should not
No,
be.
it was kind of rainy for a few days, but it was not cold, no.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yes, it was very good. Yeah.
I'm glad you had fun. What did you see?
Yes. We saw everything.
How long did you stay?
Is
10 days?
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good amount of time.
Well, originally we'd planned the previous year to go. We had the ticket for 2020 and we were going to go to Normandy,
Oh,
but then we decided it was too much hassle to do that with the pandemic going on. So
yeah, the pandemic is kind of, you get nervous, not going to enjoy it. I mean, it's just,
yeah.
but it's going to
So-
keep it for another time, right? You're going to go another time.
Yeah, another time. We did make it to Versailles and
You did?
yep, that was
That's
nice.
nice. The side
Yes.
beautiful.
Yeah. And we got to the Louvre a couple times
Mhm.
and a lot of museums. So that was
Yeah,
good.
at least a couple of times the Louvre. I mean,
Yeah, at least. I
beautiful.
would have gone more, but we ran out of time. And the lines are phenomenally long.
The what?
Lines, standing in line
Oh, right. Yeah.
because of the security and the COVID passes.
Yeah. You did not have it? You have the green pass?
We finally got the French equivalent the day before we left. So
Oh, okay.
it took a month of waiting, but we got it.
But okay. But I think now you can do it before you go.
You can apply whenever you want to, but the French people will not necessarily give it to you.
Ah, okay.
They don't feel like it.
So
And
I'm
there
gonna if you come to it, and I'm gonna send you a link where you
Yeah.
can upload your stuff, and then they give you an app that you have on the phone.
Well, that's, you can do it yourself then, because that's what we did. I mean, in France, you had to send it to them and then they gave you a QR code back and then you'd upload that. but the part,
I'm not sure, but I think it's easier. In Italy and Germany, I think it's easier than that. Because
Super.
each country has a different
yeah,
thing, right?
right,
So I think it's easier. You just show that you have that those documents, upload them,
yeah,
and you're in a database. And I think that's the shows that you're vaccinated. You get the green pass. But I need to. I'll figure it out soon because I'm going to Italy on the 27th. So
oh, good, you'll know,
yeah, I'll figure it out so I can kind of
super.
produce this information, right?
Yeah, because you don't need one doesn't want a gatekeeper in the system telling you yes or no that you can upload the document. That's what France has,
Yeah.
a review
Okay.
process stops you. If they don't review it, then you're stuck. You may have
Okay.
the documents, but
I
so
think I think that is up to the individual country, the deal that they
yeah,
have with other countries, right?
yeah,
So they have the deal that they decide to trust each other, then it's good, but it's not always.
yeah,
Right. So you see how we move this. We remove this portion here, the central portion. Then we move in now the corrugators in. Right. We have this kind of sad expression, right? And also in this case in here, we have the squinting of the lower portion of the orbicularis oculi, right? When you see the bunching, you see the bunching in here, then of course, right, that's going to be the squinting created by the muscle around the eye.
You have a distinctive line coming down from the side of the eye out to the wing
This
of
one?
the nose. No,
This one?
no, it's a shading line. Move over towards the nose.
Oh, this one here. So this one here or this one here?
Yeah, is that part of the expression? On
No,
both
that is the
sides of
side
the
of the
nose.
nose. That's the side of the nose. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
that's the side of the nose, right? And then this though is the nasal labia furrow, which could have so nasal labia furrow. We're gonna see when we look at the mouth maybe next time. But just to give you a preview, right? So if we have the mouth like this, right, and then we have the mouth widening like this, right, and that the nasal labia furrow, what it does this. Because as we pull the mouth this way, so let's say that the mouth is pulled sideways, right? It gets thinner, and now this and this, they become more visible because of this, right? Like that. But with a normal facial expression, with the mouth that is not pulled sideways, the nasolabial furrow is going to be more. Let's say that the mouth is not affected by movement, right? Like this, right? So it stops in here, like this, right? Then the nasolabial furrow would do this. But with the mouth pulled out here, corner of the mouth pulling here, the mouth goes up that way, and now the nasolabial furrow goes out like that. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Around the mouth.
We're gonna see the mouth, right? We're gonna see the mouth next week, right? Let's leave the mouth alone for now, right?
Okay.
So now let's look at the muscle that produces. So we have the central portion of the frontalis and this portion in here, the corrugator, right? Corrugator comes in, it comes in, right? So central portions, right? Because it's both of them, right? Portions frontalis and then corrugator. Right. So now we could also have, imagine now in here, and we don't need to draw it now, right? But we could have this and this here too, right? It would make a very satanic expression, right? If you have both corners lifted up like that, right? So, one, right? So let's look at the squinting, like complete squinting of the eyes, right? So let's block in the brow ridge here, same, right? Width, blocking the glabella and the nasion. Take the length that you need for the nose, block it here. That's the nose. Line up, go with the line transversal across the nasion and draw the iris below that. Define the width of the nose, like the nostrils, and we can block in now the nose, the lobule, the wing of the nose, the eyes, the corner of the eye is going to be lined up vertically with the width of the nostril. So that's the corner of the eye, medial, eyelid, 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 and philtrum, right? So let's see now. Do you mind? I want to get some water to drink. I'm parched. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so let's see now. So we're gonna go with squinting now, right? Go with the squinting. So with the squinting, remember when I showed before the eyeball like this, right? The eyeball like this, and the eyelid is going to do this here, like that, right? Following a little bit the section of the eye, like that, right? So I know where the eye is. I'm gonna lift a little bit now the profile of the open eye, and I see the eyeball here, so I could block in now this line here like this, like going from margin to margin here, right? This, right? But that would be the eye of somebody sleeping, right? Like this. So we need to show somebody that is squinting. So with the squinting, we will have here all the skin around the eye here like this, compressed, right? And also the corner. So here we're going to have also these the wrinkles here on the side of the eyes, really visible. In squinting also rapid because we narrow the orbicularis oculi. What happened? We're gonna have also the eyebrow coming lower, right? Coming down like this, right? we also might have the muscle here, the forehead, kind of trying to bring down in also the eyebrow in to close, or contribute to closing the eye, right? So another thing that we might see here at the corner here in the eye, right? We might have all the skin bunching up here like this, creating all sort of wrinkles here like this, right? We also got some chocolate. It was not just about water, it was also chocolate, guys. Sorry, but
And we're not going to see the iris at all.
no, it's squinting. Well, that's a good question. So with squinting, this is shutting more. Squinting is shutting the eye, but with a let's see if I can get it right. You could have that, right? And have that, right? Yeah, I shouldn't have said squinting. Should I said that kind of? No, this is squinting, right? Can see a little bit of the iris, right? And then eventually, if you use, so that's a good question, Leora, actually. So the squinting is produced by the external part of the orbicularis oculi. The squinting and shutting the eye is produced by also the part of the orbicularis oculi that is around the eyeball. So this part in here closes, makes you squint, but does not make the eye shut. The portion that is over the eye then is the one that closes the eye, right? So here we have now that is the squinting actually. Right? And by in squinting, we can also kind of lift a little bit the nose here, the muscle of the levator talequenasi labii superioris here like this, right? Right, in this case, you're going to have both of them.
The upper eyelid closes down a bit.
I'm sorry?
And the upper eyelid closes down a bit.
Yeah, yeah, look, it closes down, right, like that. But this is all the compression, right? So this compression created by the external part of the orbicularis oculi. Now here, we could have that, also this movement here like this with the, maybe the widening of the mouth a little bit, like this, right? Sometimes the mouth is involved in the squinting, right? It's not just the eyes, right? There's also mouth that contributes to the dramatic effect of the squinting. So here now we're gonna have a little bit of a notch, a deep notch at the corner of the mouth in here, because if we do that kind of pulling of the mouth, because the muscle that are connected with the node pull this way and somehow create a little bit of a notched corner of the mouth more visible. Like that, right? So this could also have wrinkles coming down from here to here like this, right? But the nose here can also be bunched up here if you squint, usually using also the muscle that lifts the nostrils and the upper lip, right? And
And how would you shade that?
mm,
How would we shade that?
shade what?
Put the shading in.
Yeah, I'm putting a bit of shading here, right? So we can see the effect of that. So in this case in here, let's say the light comes from here, we can leave this visible light here, right? And shade only the portion of the bunched up skin that is in the lower portion here. But here we can block the shade on the whole side, right? And then make part of it darker here in the bunched up skin here, a little bit darker.
Okay.
So I have a image of facial expression, right? As a way of reviewing. I want to go over an image now to kind of review some of these facial expression to discuss about these a little bit, right? So now let's look at the muscle involved, right? So we will have here the muscle of the orbicularis oculis coming in like this, right? The muscle here of the corner of the mouth going up like this, and the muscle of the levator all'equinasi labi superiori is going up like this. So levator, I'm gonna abbreviate, right? Levator labi superioris alleque nasi. Here, right? And then we have orbicularis oculis. And that external part, right? So I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna change this to make this squinting completely. And this, I mean, shutting the eye, and this only squinting, right? External portion. And this is probably this is zygomaticus major and risorius. So this I'm going to go back to the shut eye here, right? And do it without. So in this case, the shut eye is going to have more wrinkles around the eye like that, right? More visible here. So in this case, in here is going to be not just the sternum, but also the whole part here, the whole muscle, right? Orbicularis oculi, all. Right. So give me a minute, and then I would like to show you a picture that I've shown it already a few times, but it's always a nice picture to look at. So we can see some action of muscles, right? Facial expression, etc. Right? You let me know when you guys are ready, and then we can start working on looking at these images, right?
I can't read the word external there. What's under it?
Oh, portion. Sorry,
Oh, okay.
sorry, it's my bad. I write like a doctor without making the money of a doctor. Sadly, writing poorly, calligraphic. I mean,
Oh, I just can't see very well.
no, but I write like a really. So you let me know right, when you're ready. So I'll show you some images.
Yes.
So let's look at the face now. It is there's not really much of an expression here, right? Then I'm going to show you an artwork with a lot of expression. So if you see how here we have that line in there, even if it's not very visible, but that is the line of the orbit, so that the frontomaxillary eminence. And you see how in this case in here, that the slight bulging here, that's the fat, but the skin is very tight, so you don't see a lot of those wrinkles, right? This is the passage here between the upper portion of the orbit to the lower portion. See that dark light, right? Dark light, right? And that. That's the philtrum, right? That's the nasolabial furrow, and that's the node. See the node there?
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's the node.
Yes.
This is the mentolabial furrow here. See that? And that furrow can be more or less pronounced, really depending, but mostly this is the one that is more pronounced between the two, right? See the eyebrow is now, this portion here is on the front plane. And this portion here is moving toward the side plane, see that? And that's why I want you to keep in check, right? So let's see now. She's three-quarter view. So we don't really not gonna obtain really the measurement between. It's not gonna be a neutral measurement between the side of the eyebrow and the center and the nose, but we can still use that as a measurement, whatever that might be. So I measure this for the center, and then I look at this, and yeah, still corresponds, kind of more or less, right? See that? So that's the zygomatic bone, right? The zygomatic bone here. And let's look now at an image that is a sculpture and shows a lot of his facial expression, right? So this one eventually I would love to copy with you guys. And if you haven't done it yet, because some of you might have done this already. Did anybody do this already?
No,
No, all right.
No.
So I think this is quite interesting, right? So this is a sculpture group of the Compianto del Cristo Morto, which is a Catholic tradition where it's a sculpture group that shows the dead Christ and all these various people that come to cry about, you know, compianto, right? They cry and show desperation, etc. And it was used during the Good Friday, because it's Good Friday, and people would have a religious function around it, just try to remember the moment of the Passion of Christ. So here's the King of Naples. He probably commissioned. This is late 1400 or beginning 1500. He probably commissioned the sculpture group. It's made in terracotta. So we see now how incredibly correct and beautiful these facial expressions are, right? Let's see if we can recognize some of the muscle that we have seen so far, right? So the muscle that moves in the forehead like this. So you see how this moves in the forehead like this, here, right? Do you remember the name of that muscle?
the depressor.
Preserves.
That-
Remember the
oh,
cardboard?
okay. Oh, okay.
Corrugato.
Corrugato.
Corrugato, exactly, corrugato. So remember, right? Remember, in this case, that's the fixed point, and that's the moving point. So the origin and insertion. So that's the origin that's fixed. The insertion moves toward the origin. So it does this, pinches the skin like this, and therefore creates wrinkles this way. Make sense? So
Okay.
see that? So in here we have this central portion here, this wrinkle here, the wrinkle pulling this way. But you also have this portion here that goes that way. That so we have muscle going this way and muscle going that way, right? So what is the muscle that creates the wrinkle, the horizontal wrinkle here?
Is that the Procerus?
It's in front, right? It's in front.
Oh, the frontalis.
Frontalis, right? So, but the interesting thing is here is that the action of this muscle here and this muscle here create this curve, this V. See that?
Mm-hmm.
The skin is moving around like that. So quite interesting, right? So we have these two muscles here. One is that brings up the forehead, and the other one that brings it close. So now look at the squinting. See the squinting, right? So what we have here is these lines in here, right, that are concentric to the direction of the fiber of the muscle. See that? So this is the direction of the fiber. These are the wrinkles, right? You see exactly there. You see them very there. So because we see all the wrinkles all the way in line like that, we can speculate now. We can see actually that the lower part also of the upper part of the orbicularis oculis are quite involved. You also see how the skin in here is bunched up in here, creating those ugly wrinkles in there of kind of tension, right? Really, that is the fat.
Okay.
So that's the eyelid, right? That's the fat, and that is the nasolabial, sorry, the frontal maxillary eminence.
Mm-hmm.
So now here, there's a muscle in here that is, so what happens, see the nostril are flaring a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And the upper lip is like lifted up like this, right? And you see it because of this. See this curve in there? That is not normally that wrinkle is not that visible, right? It's really not that visible. So it's visible because that muscle, the levator allequenasi labii superioris, is pulling up is pulling up the ring, the wing of the nose, and also the upper lip that looks like it's protruding a little bit. See that? It's kind of pouting out, moving out forward a little bit, right? So now here, what happened as I move this up, the nasolabial furrow is straighter down like that. It's more visible, it's straighter because this portion has been lifted, so the nasolabial furrow has to follow. I mean, it gets straightened up, right? So, so now these wrinkles in here, this is the nasolabial furrow, right? This instead is not a wrinkle that's probably created by the fact that you know, the skin loses flexibility, etc. Many years of expression, probably yelling at people. He's the king, right? So he yells at people. That's what kings do, right? Then created another parallel wrinkle like this, but you can see how between here, the zygomatic and the orbicularis oris, there are this muscle. See that here? So that those wrinkles go down from here to here and here to here, right? That. And you see how the direction of this muscle is consistent with those wrinkles, right? That. So that wrinkle, the wrinkles is kind of between zygomatic bone and orbicularis oris, right? See that? See that? That's the node, very visible, the node. So the node would be this corner here. This corner here where we have this thickening here because of the convergence of 1, 2, 3, and maybe 4 muscle, the caninus, right? So they're all connected with the corner of the mouth. So all these muscles here, 1, 2, 3, 4, move the corner of the mouth, but different directions. And some are very subtle, very, very subtle, right? So they converge here. They are kind of stuck together by kind of kept together by this fibrous connective tissue, then is connecting them with the mouth. So see that? See this? How sharp this is, right? See how sharp this is. What do you think is creating that? What muscle do you think is creating that? Right? How would you say the expression of this? What kind of expression?
Depressor?
Is so yeah, there is a depressor there. Probably is the lower lip is slightly brought down, right? But at the same time, this muscle here, which is the mentalis, comes up. So if you when you pout, the chin, if you put your finger on the chin, you pout, you feel the finger going up. Yeah. That is the chin, the mentalis, move the chin up, bring the chin up like that, right? That's the mentalis. So the mentalis, what it does, in this case, it together with probably this muscle here, that the depressor of the lower lip, right? Reduce the spacing here and increase this this knot, this depth in here, making that facial expression. I'm saying that the depressor of the lower lip is also involved because it looks like the mouth is kind of protruding a little bit. The lower lip is protruding forward a little bit, right? So and
where would the depressor move the mouth? When you open your mouth?
Also, right? Also, so it could be, but in this case, because you have the mouth is clenched.
Yeah.
This, right? See that? See my face? Don't make me do it too many times.
But we use the depressor to, well, we use the jaw, to
This, right? This is all tape, guys.
Wait, do it again. Do it again.
So no, the jaw is another muscle that is I think it's pterygoideus. I can't remember it, but move the jaw down, the open down. So this moves only the muscle of the lips. The jaw, the open the jaw, close the jaw are different muscles that they are deeper in the back. Right? But what this does, it moves the lip down. Right? So if you clench your teeth or you have the mouth open, the muscle still move the lip down differently by moving it down. So it doesn't really move the bone, right? It moves the lips, moves the lips, right? So I think we saw all the muscle, but you see how incredibly complex these these expression are, and how is incredible that in 1500 these guys had this really incredible knowledge based on, of course, anatomy was really being studied now and discovered in this period here, but still, I mean, this is a facial expression and with all the subtleties, right? There's a couple more things, right? So here, there are wrinkles that's permanent. I don't think that wrinkle is created by the specific expression. It could be created because it's there. I mean, at a certain point, some wrinkle become permanent, right? And that's it. If you have a worried expression all the time, you're gonna develop specific wrinkles in the face that show that, right? So that is in the case is the nasion, right? And you see how the nasion is slightly above that the iris, right? This bump in here is a rhenion. See that? It's a rhenion, right? So we have all of these things that we can review, right? The glabella, right? The nasion, the rhenion, the lobule, the wings of the nose, the frontal maxillary eminence, the nasolabial furrow, the philtrum, the pillars of the mouth, and the mentolabial furrow. Everything is there like an anatomical text in the right place. So that means the level of detail is anatomical, but also expressive. Is quite astonishing in these spaces here. So there's a bunch of these works that we can copy. We have time. Actually, we have time. Actually, what we could do now, if you want to start with this week, we could start sketching it, practicing sketching it. We have time, 10 minutes. We could do it. Just practicing sketching this set, and then we start it again next week, maybe, right? You want to try that?
Yeah. How did this terracotta survive without getting his nose knocked off in 500 years? Or how come it's not damaged?
Well, some got damaged, right? Some got damaged, but this one was well preserved. And these were mostly in churches that were you could not really touch it. There was separation between you and this work in here, and because it was the Christ on actually, let me show you, if you don't mind. I can show you the whole complex, right? So we can look at that. Yeah.
And it was usually inside, not outside.
Oh yeah, this is inside the church. Yeah, no,
Okay.
inside the church. Let's see, compianto. I can send you the webinar I did about this, so maybe you can. All right, so let's see images, right?
Oh, that's right. I think I did watch. You had that webinar, and it was good.
Yeah, do you remember you saw that, right? So that's it.
That was good.
I didn't see that. I would appreciate
I'm
it.
going to send it to you. I'm going to send it to you, right?
Early Christmas present.
Oh, here we go. All right, so we go, right? So now I'll show you. There's many there. So let's see. New share, right? Hey, why is it not visible? There you go. So share. Oh no, Baroque. They said Baroque sculpture. See that you cannot trust. You cannot trust these people. Pinterest. It's not Baroque. It's late Gothic. Such a big difference, right? Right. It's kind of embarrassing to see this thing. All right. So let's see. Oh, this is low resolution, but I can probably still see something, right? Just to give you an idea of the whole group. See that? This is about life size, and this is in Bologna, but there are some in Modena, some in Naples, and they used to be polychrome. They used to be colored, right? Different colors, and you see how all of these have this kind of different, very different facial expression, right? Very different facial expression, where we have I think this is John of Arimathea, and then the various Marys, and there's I don't know exactly who everybody is, right? But see that there's a kind of a metal spiky, pointy, ouchy metal fence in here, so you cannot really go mess with that, right? But you also you also have this the dead cries here like this, right? And so you need to, people respect that. They're not going to jump in, right? But in this case in here, this study here, you also have the body that is involved in the emotional aspect, in the facial expression. So for example, in this case in here, you see how she is coming forward almost like the Samothrace Nike. If you ever see the Samothrace Nike,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
It looks almost like that, right? With this rushing of, it's so beautiful, right? And she is screaming, but she's leaning forward. She's screaming the same expression, but she's leaning back. So it's quite an interesting one. One is recalling in horror, and the other one is going toward it. So the classic reaction that people have when some danger happens. Some people run away, some people go toward it, right? And mostly people run away, likely, right? But some people go toward the danger, see if they can do something about that. But you have also this guy here where you see the men are always having contained expression of sorrow or pain, right? But the women in here, they let it out. That this was probably clearly connected with a stereotype, right? Of but sorry, what is this?
Oh, there's your cat.
Where is the cat?
Cat's taking a bath behind you.
Oh, okay. I thought okay. He's cute. A little bit. So let's see now, right? See, there's another one right here. Oh, this is see, the problem is that Pinterest. Oh, Pinterest. I got enough of Pinterest. I'm gonna change it, right? I'm gonna look at some other so let's see. Okay, here, this is another one, right? Okay, maybe in this one here, the facial expression one is visible. I'm gonna share this. What is it? Oh no, I lost the I cannot see the share thing anymore. Another problem with, sorry guys, I must have clicked something by mistake where I made you miss some. Oh, here, share screen, found it. All right, so here we go. Share. Oh, so you see it, you see that, right? See, now I'm going to see if I can enlarge this, and we can look at this for a minute, right? So see how the facial expression of this character is quite interesting, quite really refined, right? But see how you can see all the muscle. What I was saying before, he's trying to see that the nostril coming up, is about to cry, but he's keeping the mouth shut. Right? And then you see this muscle going down like this. See that the wrinkle here, right? See the wrinkle there? That is the depressor of the eyebrow. And this here is also the procerus coming down like that. So we have this mouth going down 1, 2, 3, right? Going to the center here. And then the squinting. Look at the squinting, right? See that the squinting? So you see how in this case in here we have this bunched up here because the muscle around the eye is compressed, is closing the eye. But also we have this bunched up here of the part of the cheek in here because the wrinkles, the wing of the nose are being pulled up, and this portion here is now all bumpy. See that, right? So quite a powerful expression. See if you can see another one. of the Marys right next to him, right? That is the Mary that is recalling in horror. See that next to him, and it's quite compelling. It's quite. Let me see if I can enlarge this, right? See that, right? So in this case, in here, all the muscle of the mouth are used to open the mouth in all possible directions and scream, right? Like that, right? I don't know how they did this. I really don't know. It's just, because there was no picture, no photographs at the time, right?
Mhm.
So let's see if I can find another one, right? If you don't mind, just another minute, right? Because it's what I'm trying to do is trying to bring together the things that we have seen tonight into a, see how they're being used in art, right?
Where is the king in that grouping? The
No,
first,
this is another one. This is another one. This is in Bologna. The king is in Naples. That king is the one with the king is there is in Naples. So it's another group. There are quite a few. I can see if I can send you the images of a few of them, right? Because there's quite a few.
Oh.
Let me see. See if there's another one here. This is another one. I think this is in Modena, and these are colored. And let me show you, right? These are colored. So
Your forehead is wrinkling as you're concentrating.
what muscle am I using?
Frontalis.
Frontalis, right? Let me see. Share. See that?
Wow.
Beautiful. These are how the original. They were all like this, all colored. The one that I just showed you so far before, right? When I was a kid and going to art school, I used to go see it, but they kept it into a corner. It's all messed up, and it was partially covered, partially exposed to the weather, right? And pigeons were pooping on it. It was just so sad. Eventually, they found the money, they restored it, and they put it back into the church. But the paint was lost. The paint has been lost. So, this has been the one that I showed you before, right? With this is Modena. The one I showed you before. So this one here, right? Compared to Cristobal, this is Bologna. You see this, right? In Bologna, right?
Mhm.
It has been described by the Nunzio. Nunzio was a poet, eventually fascist poet, but it's described as a tragic dance, which I just love that expression of tragic dance, because these women start rushing in. See how they rush in, right? It's almost like really kind of a dance, a tragic dance. See that kind of lifting the skirt like that. It really does look like a
Are
tragic
are
dance.
these figures fixed where they are, or are
No, they
they
can be moved. They
independent?
can
Can they be
be.
moved?
Yeah,
Oh,
they can be
okay.
moved. Yeah, they can be moved. Yeah, yeah, they're all independent. So, because it's quite a big group. This is another one, right? Because again, some are in Modena, some are in Naples, some in Bologna. This is another one, right? How beautiful they are, all colored, etc. And but these are much better preserved, right? So.
Were there still colors on the ones that you said you used to see when you were young?
No, I mean some have some colors, but most of the colors were lost.
Already gone? Okay.
Yeah, they were lost because they were not treated really well, and in the war and everything, right? So probably they hid them during the war. They kept it in a safe place, but it was not protected by the rain. It was protected by the bomb, but not by the rain. So, but going back to what you were saying, Ramona, the terracotta is we were discussing this about this morning. So terracotta, the way is used for these sculpture is like ceramic. Is cooked. Is put in an oven. So it's not going, it's not like Adobe. It's not going to, because I realized this, the difference in meaning of terracotta here and in Italy. I went to look for some terracotta tiles to put in the kitchen, to see if I could do that. And the guy that was selling it said, well, yeah, they come from Mexico, but now they don't have many, and we have to wait until they are cooked. And said, what do you mean wait? Yeah, it takes some time. So you put them in the oven. But no, terracotta tiles are baked in the sun. And but the terracotta tiles I know from Europe are baked in the oven because they last thousands of years. So if you use a terracotta that's baked in the oven, so basically you make this in terracotta in clay, right? And then it's basically it's clay that is cooked in the oven, and now it becomes like a brick. It's basically like a brick, even harder than that. But you can rain on it, nothing's gonna happen. But the paint is gonna suffer. So in some cases, the paint of these has been lost, right? So do you want to shall we do the King of Naples next week? Start with
Yeah.
this in there, right? I think it's a
I
good
think
study.
King of Naples. I
Yeah.
mean, I like them all, but
Yeah, well, we're gonna do a bunch of them, right? So I think that the King of Naples is quite an interesting study, right, in facial expression, quite compelling, and we could do, because the complexity of all these facial expression, right? So all right. So any question, guys?
I'm good.
You're good? No?
A question, I forgot it. I'll think of it later.
All right. So you send me an email, right?
Yeah,
So for next week, you have the list of materials, right?
I didn't get the list or the reference photos, but I could email you to remind you about.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they are in Google Classroom.
Oh, okay. I'll look there. Thank
Google
you.
Classroom. If you don't find them, email me, and then I'm gonna send them to you. But if you go in Google Classroom, you go
Yep.
on Classroom. So you have a sort of choice. You got to go Classroom. Click on Classroom, and then you find week 1, week 2, week 3. They are in
Great.
week 1 reference material.
Okay.
So you're gonna find all the charts, all the stuff that they're being shown tonight. Oh, I see my cat now. You can find all those materials, so it can also be useful for you to review this thing, right? So now I was thinking homework, right? You cannot live without homework, right? So homework. Why don't you take picture of yourself making faces, as many as you can stand, and then copy them. Right, so maybe you can try to replicate the expression that we'll be studying tonight. So that's just a way of reinforcing what we did, right? And maybe check it as you do that, as you draw it. Have the chart that I posted with the muscles, right? I posted 2 charts with muscle, right? One is a figure that's half flayed. That's from the book, right? Half flayed and half muscle, and half the external figure. Features. Sorry, I'm getting tired. The other one is the front and side view, which is this one, right? And it can also be useful. But try to make faces. Take pictures though. Don't stay stopping like that for half an hour, right? Because you know what happened. You're gonna get stuck like that. Your mom told
That
you.
way.
You're gonna get stuck
Okay.
like that.
that's what my mother told me.
And you're gonna have all these wrinkles, and you're blaming me, right? So so I would do that. 2, 3, 1, 4, all 4. It's up to you. And you see, it doesn't take really long to do that. But start with the photographic reference, because that way you can really spend more time and suffer less doing that, right? Okay. So I see you next week, and if you post the works, maybe I can give you my feedback on those, right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So much.
Bye bye. Good night.
Bye. Good night.